What do you need for a 24-hour ride in the middle of the winter? Now, loads of you have been asking that very question under the 24-hour video I did with Mark. So I thought the best way to answer all those questions is to show you. Ta-da! Now the challenge was to ride for 24 hours over all types of terrain. So we needed a bike that was comfortable for a very, very long time. We also set ourselves the target of overcoming 500 kilometers, so it needed to be fast as well. Now luckily BMC were happy to support the video. Now I was riding a grey bike in the video and this one is blue, but as I said before, this is the BMC Road Machine. It's an endurance bike, so much more in tune with our endeavour than an out-and-out race bike. We needed to be able to fit really wide tyres on for the comfort, and luckily this frame does just that. And it's also got a lot of compliance built into the frame. Mine was a top-of-the-range Road Machine 01, complete with SRAM Red E-tap, so I didn't have to change the batteries, by the way, and I also had a pair of Envies. One of the best features of the Road Machine is the ability to raise the stack using the two different headset caps. Now it's a really small touch, but it allows more riders to fit the same bike without having loads of spaces under the stem. Another really cool feature of the Road Machine is the integration of all the cables, because it looks absolutely insane. Now the previous version also was integrated, and it was, well, one of the first to do so, if not the first. Now, all in all, it was the perfect bike for the challenge. But unlike the 1903 film, I could not use the bike as an excuse, unfortunately. Now, the one part of the challenge that I was especially worried about is the night riding. The only night riding I've done is riding through France in the middle of the summer, where we only rode through the night for about 6 hours. Now this was riding through the night for 14 hours in the middle of the winter in the UK. As you can imagine, I was pretty hesitant. So we needed to find lights that were super reliable in all different kinds of weather, that would last 14 hours of night riding without dying on us, and also that were bright. So what do we use? So on the front of the bike, I used this. Now this is the Strada Mark 10 from Exposure. It comes in at only 230 grams, kicks out 1500 lumens on its brightest setting, which is absolutely insane. So I used it only on the midway setting, which was for sure bright enough. And to be honest, I had it on for 16 hours and I didn't have to charge it once. So this was absolutely perfect. Now for the rear, I used the Blaze Mark III from Exposure. Now this comes with loads of different modes, but I felt like the flash mode alerted road users on the road, and it really did keep us safe and easily lasted the hours. So absolutely perfect bit of kit. Now something I've never used before this challenge is a top tube bag. This one is from TWEVLE, it's the large tank bag, and it became incredibly useful when I needed to charge my Wahoo head unit. My Wahoo head unit only lasts around 16 hours, not 24, and we were also using it for navigation, so we were using the backlight, which seemed to drain the battery that bit quicker. But it was also really handy to put snacks in, because I found it was a lot easier to get snacks out of the top tube bag than from my back pocket, because I was so layered up. So ultimately, it was an incredibly welcomed addition to my bike. We also had a saddlebag on our bikes from TWEVLE. Now that had all the essentials in for puncture repair kits, so inner tube, gas canister, patches, that kind of thing. And that was so if we did get separated from our support crew, we were able to fix a puncture without too much issue. So as you can see from the video, we were lucky enough to have a support crew with us, and that enabled us to take some extra layers without putting extra storage on our bike. So on the bike, I started with some winter bib tights from ASOS. I started with a thermal under base layer. I started with a thermal long sleeve top, and I carried a cape with me with an ASOS band and a helmet over the top of that, and of course, a pair of sunnies. In the van with the crew, I had 2 extra winter tops, also a down jacket. I also took 2 pairs of gloves, so I had a neoprene gloves from ASOS, but I also had their full-on winter gloves too. I had 2 pairs of overshoes, so a thin pair and a winter pair. Now, I did have 2 pairs of socks and 2 pairs of shoes. It got absolutely soaking wet around 12 o'clock. And when we stopped off at around 1 o'clock to change, and to be honest, I was absolutely dying of freezing feet, so I needed to change socks and shoes. But Mark did say I didn't need to change my bib tights because I'll be fine, but they were absolutely soaking wet as well. But I think the thing I mostly relied on was a good pair of gloves because my fingers and hands got really cold. So keeping a pair of these nice and dry was absolutely imperative, and it did get me through. Nutrition plays a huge part in any sort of long distance riding. The longer you ride for, the more you rely on real food opposed to sports specific nutrition like gels or sports bars. This is because you're riding at a lower intensity, you can digest food more easily and you have longer to eat it. However, we stuck some Enervit in our bottles to keep the carbs coming in even when we were not eating. So for the real food and the base of our journey, we relied on wraps, and those wraps were made with jam, peanut butter and banana. Now, I've never tried that combination, but to be honest, it was absolutely ideal. As we were going through the night and it got really cold and wet, we were really hoping for some warm food. So luckily we had the crew go and get us some fish and chips. Now that was absolutely amazing, but we ate it so fast that we both got a bit of indigestion, so that was a bit of a schoolboy error. And at 3 AM, we hooked McDonald's. Now, every nutritionist out there is going to put their head in their hands at the thought of us going into McDonald's at 3 AM. But to be honest, it was something different. It was a bit of warm food with a coffee, and that did see us through a lot of the night. We then relied on some gels and some sports nutrition to give us that extra boost of energy before going through dawn. After dawn, we spotted a nice local shop that had just baked some pain au chocolat and some croissants, and that was amazing because I was really going through a tough patch. So yeah, I thanked my lucky stars for a nice warm pain au chocolat, and that then saw us through to the end. Now, I hope you enjoyed this video. Do let us know if there's anything that you'd bring on a 24-hour challenge through the winter. One thing I should have brung is a pair of mud guards or one of these, an arse saver. If you enjoyed this video, give it a big thumbs up. And if you want to see the challenge itself, then click on the link below.